June 1st, 1990, Los Angeles, 9:02 a.m. The radio station KIIS-FM makes an announcement that sends the city into hysteria. They are giving away a Porsche 944. Not a keychain, not a toy, a $50,000 German sports car to the 102nd caller. Now, do the math. The station has a listening radius of 5 million people. The moment that contest starts, 100,000 people are picking up their phones. The odds of you being exactly caller 102 are roughly 1 in 200,000. It is statistically impossible to guarantee a win. It's a lottery. But when the DJ picks up line 102, the voice on the other end isn't surprised. He isn't screaming. He sounds bored. Because he didn't get lucky. He didn't just dial the number. He had physically seized control of the entire telephone network of Los Angeles. This is the story of Kevin Poulsen. And he didn't just steal a car, he broke the radio station. But the hardest part wasn't stealing the Porsche, it was hiding it. To understand how a 24-year-old homeless man managed to outsmart the entire city, you have to look at the battlefield. Most people think of the phone company as a utility, like the water company or the power grid. It's just there. But in 1990, the Pacific Bell telephone network was the nervous system of California. It handled everything: the stock market data, the emergency 911 lines, the FBI wiretaps. It was a closed loop, a digital fortress. To get inside, you needed a physical key. You needed to be an employee with a badge sitting inside the central office typing on a specific terminal. Or at least, that's what the security manual said. Kevin Poulsen looked at this fortress and he didn't see walls, he saw a machine. And every machine has a maintenance mode. He realized that the engineers who built the system had left a back door, not for hackers, but for themselves. If a line was broken, a technician needed to be able to access the switch remotely to test it. They created a specific testing mode that allowed an external caller to act like an internal operator. But finding this back door wasn't enough. You had to know how to use it. Imagine the telephone grid of Los Angeles like a massive 25-lane highway. When KIIS-FM announces the contest, thousands of callers like you and me, try to merge onto that highway at the exact same second. The result is a traffic jam. That's the busy signal you hear. It's gridlock. Kevin didn't want to beat the traffic. He wanted to own the road. He dialed into the Pacific Bell testing switch. He entered the command codes. And he didn't just call the station, he took over the toll booth. He issued a command: lock lines 1 through 101. Instantly, across the city, the lines went dead. If you were a normal person trying to call in, you didn't even get a busy signal. You got silence. Kevin had electronically seized lines 1 through 101 and parked them. He created a digital dam, holding back the flood of callers. The DJ at the station is confused. The lights on the phone board aren't blinking. The contest has started, but nobody is calling. Kevin waits. He watches the system. He lets the tension build. Then he releases the lock on exactly one line, line 102. He picks up his receiver, he dials. There is no traffic, there is no competition. He is the only car on the road. The phone rings once. You're caller 102, you've just won a Porsche. Kevin Poulsen had just hacked reality. He turned a 1 in 200,000 chance into a 100% certainty. He claimed the car. He claimed the $20,000 cash prize the next week. He claimed a trip to Hawaii the week after that. He was living like a king. He had the money, the car, the power. He was invincible. But he had a problem that no amount of code could fix. The FBI knew his voice. See, Kevin wasn't just a contest winner. He was already a fugitive. He had been on the run for years, hacking military databases and defense contractors. The FBI had been hunting him, but they couldn't find him because he was a ghost. He lived in motels, he used fake names, he never stayed in one place for more than a few weeks. But now, the ghost had a Porsche. And you can't hide a Porsche in a motel room. This is where the friction starts. Kevin had won the prize, but claiming it meant exposing himself. He had to send a friend to pick up the car. He had to park it in storage. He He couldn't even drive the trophy he had stolen. And while he was figuring out how to launder a sports car, the FBI was closing in. They knew he was in Los Angeles, they knew he was active, and they started tapping the payphones in the areas where they suspected he was operating. This is the nightmare scenario for any criminal. The entire weight of the federal government is listening for your voice. Every time you pick up a phone, you are risking 20 years in prison. Most people would run. Most people would throw the phone in the ocean and disappear. Kevin Poulsen didn't run. He attacked. He realized that if the FBI was listening to him, that meant there was a connection, a wire. And if there is a wire, it can be hacked. He broke into the FBI's own surveillance grid. Think about the audacity of this. He identified the specific wiretaps that were placed on him, and he reversed the audio. He started listening to the agents who were listening to him. He learned their names. He learned their shifts. He learned where they went for dinner. He treated the FBI investigation like his personal radio drama. He would sit in his dark motel room, eating takeout, laughing as he heard the agents complain about their cold coffee or their marital problems. But then, he heard something that stopped the laughter. He heard them planning a raid. They had narrowed down his location. They were getting ready to hit his motel. Kevin had minutes. He grabbed his laptop. He grabbed the cash. He left the Porsche behind. He slipped out the back window just as the sirens were approaching. He escaped, but the net was getting tighter. The FBI was embarrassed. They had been outsmarted by a homeless kid. They needed to escalate. They needed the public's help. They went to the nuclear option, Unsolved Mysteries. In 1990, Unsolved Mysteries was the biggest show in television. 20 million people watched it every week. The FBI arranged for a special episode profiling Kevin Poulsen. They were going to blast his face into every living room in America. They set up a special 1-800 hotline for tips. If you see this man, call immediately. This was checkmate. Kevin could hide from the police, but he couldn't hide from 20 million grandmothers watching TV. But Kevin looked at the TV schedule, and he looked at his laptop, and he realized something the FBI had forgotten. The 1-800 number for Unsolved Mysteries, it ran on the telephone network, his network. The night the episode aired, 20 million people sat glued to their screens. The segment played. Kevin's face appeared. The host urged everyone to call the number on the screen. Thousands of people picked up their phones to report the weird guy they saw at the grocery store. And they heard nothing. Dead air. Kevin had hacked the hotline. He physically disconnected the 1-800 number at the central switch. For the entire duration of the broadcast, not a single call got through. The FBI agents sitting in the call center were staring at silent phones. He hadn't just silenced the snitches, he had silenced the entire country. He was humiliating them. He was a god in the wires. He could control the radio. He could blind the FBI. He could mute the television. But there is a rule in engineering. Systems fail at their weakest point. Kevin's weak point wasn't his code. It wasn't his hardware. It was his stomach. You can hack the phone company. You can hack the FBI. You cannot hack the biological need for calories. On a random Wednesday, Kevin got hungry. He needed food. He couldn't download a sandwich. He drove to a Hughes market in the suburbs. He walked down the aisle looking for potato salad. He wasn't in hacker mode. He was just a guy buying lunch. He let his guard down. And in the checkout line, a stock boy looked at him. This stock boy hadn't seen Unsolved Mysteries. He hadn't seen the FBI wanted posters. He had just seen a random flyer stuck to a telephone pole outside the store. He looked at the flyer. He looked at Kevin. He didn't call the FBI hotline. He didn't use a high-tech channel. He just called the local cops. Kevin paid for his salad. He walked out to the parking lot. And suddenly, he was surrounded. No SWAT team, no helicopters, just a couple of patrol cars and some confused officers. They put him in handcuffs. And just like that, the game was over. The man who defeated the federal government's entire surveillance apparatus was taken down by a grocery store clerk and a tub of potato salad. The system that caught him wasn't digital. It was analog. It was human. Kevin Poulsen was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. It was the longest sentence ever given for hacking at the time. They banned him from touching computers for 3 years after his release. But here's the twist. When you break a system that badly, the system doesn't just punish you, it learns from you. The phone companies had to completely rebuild their security architecture because of what Kevin did. They patched the testing loopholes, they encrypted the switches. He forced them to modernize. And Kevin, he didn't rot in the cell. He served his time. He got out, and he realized that the skills he used to break the law were the same skills needed to report on it. He became a journalist, a senior editor at Wired magazine. But he didn't just write articles. He used his code to hunt predators. He wrote scripts that scoured MySpace and social networks, identifying hundreds of child abuses and handing them to the police. The FBI, who once hunted him, now accepts his tips. He went from being the villain who rigged the radio to the sheriff of the internet. But the lesson remains. We build these massive digital fortresses. We trust our passwords, our firewalls, our encryption. We think we are safe because the math says we are safe. But Kevin Poulsen proved that every fortress has a backdoor, and usually that backdoor isn't a complex algorithm. It's just a phone line that nobody thought to lock. So the next time you hear a contest on the radio or you see a secure system, ask yourself, is it really secure? Or is there someone, somewhere, sitting in a dark room, listening to the dial tone, waiting to pick up the line? Because the line is always open. You just have to know the number.